and just like give away a coaching session whenever I don't have a coaching session planned. Ich kann nicht mehr sprechen, Alter, Hilfe. Ich bin so am Arsch. Hello everybody and welcome back to the next video. This time we're gonna talk about a few topics that if you do them correctly, you are in a very good position and you're doing great. But if you don't do them correctly, you're doing something wrong. So these points are very easy to change and you can learn them pretty simple and you can learn them pretty fast. But you need a lot of discipline and you need to understand one thing. You want to get better at the game. It doesn't matter what your teammates are or what's happening in the game. So, alright, the first point is pretty simple. I've played a few minutes ago, I've played literally a public game. And one thing I just realized almost every single game when I play in lower MMR, people are not picking accordingly. And this is an important point. You need to pick accordingly to your lane. Please, if you have a support that is like a Rubik or something, pick a melee. Stop picking, for example, like Venomancer or Death Prophet or whatever. Try to pick a hero that fits the style of your position 4 or like your position 1, depends, whatever you're playing, and get used to it. Like whenever you have like last pick and you see like, yo, there's a Rubik on my lane, maybe I should pick Centaur or Maras or like DK, anything that fits together with the Rubik, and that works out. Because in this game, for example, I have first picked Terrorblade, and for some reason, my offlaner saw the Slark or the Crystal Maiden, I can't remember, and he picked a Riki. Like imagine you're picking a Riki with a Terrorblade into a Slark Maiden. There's like no game plan we can literally do. They're just gonna stomp us and we literally lost in like 20 minutes just because of that. So try to draft accordingly to your lane and decide smart. Do not be like the person that picks a double melee. Just try to have like one hero as a melee hero and one hero as a range hero. Just fit your hero pool so you have like the possibility to pick like a range and pick a melee anytime if you want. And if you don't have any, like let's say range heroes, pick melee heroes that are strong at least, like Tiny, Tusk, Terrorblight, anything like that. So the next point is you need to itemize in a good way. I'm not telling you need to like analyze the entire game or like every single game, no. You just need like one basic build you are going for every single game. But before the game, like let's say before the lane even starts, you need to think like, what am I laning against? And what's gonna happen in this lane. And I do want you to like tweak your build a little bit. Because for example, I'm playing against a PA here. I simply just bought a stick just because of one hero. A lot of low MMR people, they are buying, for example, a stick in every single game. Even if they play against like, I don't know, Lifestealer and something else that doesn't use any spells in the lane, basically. So make sure to think about your lane and make sure to like build up your item build accordingly. Later on in the game, you can also have like a classic item build. For example, on TB, I'm always going like drums, floods every single time. And whenever I see like a possibility for like a different item or like an item before, I'm taking it. But I have like my basic plan that I'm doing every game and it just works out because these items are not like bad or something. It doesn't really matter. It's not like a Neeks Dagon or some shit. So you can go for these items whenever you want and you can just like tweak your item build. For example here, I went for the Boots of Bearing just because we're playing against a lot of slows. And with the Boots of Bearing, we can just chase the enemies down or just run away from them and disengage. So I want you to think about your item builds quite a lot, especially when it comes down to the starting item builds. Think about it. Don't just go brainless and don't do anything. Just think about your lane, look at your enemies, and if you don't know what you're laning against, then you can like either wait with your items to buy them, or you just like go full ham and you just go for one build and you risk everything. So it's up to you, but you can be smart and you can just wait with your items to buy. For example, you just buy like tangos, 3 branches, and then you can like, let's say, bring one more salve and one more magic stick, for example. So, all right, next point. Pretty simple, also pretty easy to avoid. Stop chain queuing. I know a lot of people want to chain queue because maybe they tilted, maybe they're enjoying the game, or maybe whatever what. My personal preference is like whenever I'm queuing a lot, I'm enjoying the game a lot and I just want to play. I don't really care if I lose or if I win. But this is a bad mindset if you want to grind MMR. For example, I started today at like 10.1k and I literally lost like 150 MMR just because I was like queuing and I didn't care about the win or lose. And apparently at the end, I just lost. So how to avoid that is basically pretty easy. The 2 games rule, just play 2 games. If you win 2 of them, you can go ahead. If you lose 2 games, stop for the day and do something else, or take a longer break and then start playing again. And if you play 2 games and you win 1 game and you lose 1 game, you can go for the 3rd one and then you can decide if you want to keep going or if you stop for the day if you lose, of course. So this is a very simple and straightforward plan, and trust me, if you adapt this to yourself and if you have the discipline to do that, you will increase your MMR by a lot in the long run, of course. So the next point is also like very straightforward, but you need to adapt it into your game. Block and deward the camps, especially if you play support. It is super important and it will change your entire lane. You can even tell your support to block or unblock the camp and just like guide him a little bit. But for example, you just saw I blocked the small camp and I'm harassing the Pugna. And just because he wants to block the camp, I'm harassing him so hard that he's almost like he's losing 50% of his HP and even more. Just because he wants to block it and he didn't put a sentry down. Instead, he just walked in and I just get like 5 hits out of him. So make sure to block these camps. Trust me, it will make your lane so much easier. Just a single pull by the enemies or by yourself can win your entire lane and your entire, like, basically the game. If you stomp the lane, of course. Alright, the next point is just for supports, especially position 4 players. Make sure you are always on the minute 6 rune. It is a must to be there. Doesn't matter what's happening, you need to be there. And if you are, let's say, like sometimes it just doesn't work because timings are off or whatever, but like if you are like, let's say 80 to 90% of the games on the minute 6 rune ready to help your mid laner or even like steal it better from the enemies, you're doing a very good job and you will have a lot of success later on, trust me. Because this is a game-winning moment every single time for your mid laner and can be a game-winning moment for your entire team because the mid laner can stomp, he can have like a very good game and he's gonna like womp everybody. For example, the Void Spirit didn't got the rune, now he's like below 50% HP, he's pretty sad and he can't really play aggressive with us because he's too low and he doesn't have any resources. So make sure to be on this rune. Alright, same story with the experience, especially supports. If you have a stun on your hero, please stay on the experience and be ready to stun whoever comes. It will ruin your entire game if the enemies are getting double experience. The enemy support's gonna be level 6 and you and your other buddy gonna be level 4 to 5, minute 10 or like 11 even. So make sure to stay on this rune, especially if you have a stun. If the enemies have a stun, you need to like find them even before. For example, they walk into the rune, you just need to hit them and make sure they will not take it and steal it. Alright, the next point is more of the late game times. So when you are later on in the game, let's say like after minute 20 to 25, you need to make sure you need to stay together as a team. I'm not saying you need to be like grouping up or hugging each other, like sometimes yes, but like let's say 80% of the time, you just need to be on the same side of the map. So everybody can like literally connect in a few seconds like this. Because my teammates are either around or they just will TP and they're just like in time in a few seconds. And this is important. You need to make sure you're always playing together and you need to make sure you're like sticking later on in the game. But just this point is pretty simple if you just communicate together. So just make sure to talk whatever you're doing sometimes and make sure your teammates are knowing what's going on. For example, in these team fights, I just told my teammates every single time when I have my combo and I told them every single time when it's cooldown and how long the cooldown is. So they know when to expect something from me, you know? And this is important. It's basically grouping together in the later games and later times of the game and communicating. Very important, ladies and gentlemen. Communicate with your teammates. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. If you like these kind of videos and if you want more tips, make sure to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and maybe even comment on it, what is bad and what is good in the video and what you want for the next one. And make sure to follow or even subscribe, depends on you, to my Patreon to stay tuned with all my guides and maybe have the chance winning or like getting a coaching session in the future whenever I have time for it, because I'm gonna do a raffle there and just like give away a coaching session whenever I don't have a coaching session planned. And so yeah, make sure to join and join my Discord, link in description. Bye bye.